Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of the Stuff and Things podcast, talking about Star Wars Skeleton Crew. I am Sam. Joining me to break down episode 3, it's Stefan.
Hello there.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm going to throw it out there to everyone. I have got a chest infection, so I am wheezy.
Oh, God.
I will do my best not to be wheezy, and I know some of our listeners really enjoy my heavy breathing down the phone and stuff to you. I'm aware there are fans out there, but it's not on purpose, and I am purposely going to be breathing through my nose just so that I don't wheeze too much down the phone.
Do you know, this is kind of funny, and it's probably a conversation we should have had off air, but it's kind of funny. So I had a message in the week saying watching Skeleton Crew with my kids, 8 and 11. Really liked it, and I want to introduce them to the podcast. So when you're talking about Skeleton Crew, will you please mind your language and content? And I replied saying, yeah, by all means. And then we've opened up with a heavy breathing innuendo, so I'm not quite sure where to go from here.
We'll keep it PG as much as possible.
Adjacent.
Yeah.
Okay.
PG plus. Yeah.
PG plus. Yeah. Like LGBTQ plus. It's like premium gay. Anyway, so, now I've offended the world. Let's dive into the episode. This is Star Wars Skeleton Crew, episode 3, and the title of the episode was...
Very interesting. As an astrogravitational problem.
As a what?
Astrogravitational problem. I have spent the last 24 hours trying to pronounce this and I can't.
Very interesting as an astrogation problem. Now, I was
What's the R then? With astrogation, there's no R.
See, I was confused about this because I was kind of like, astronavigation I understood. So I don't know whether this is just they've taken those two words, slammed them together and made one. Which is very I mean, don't get me wrong, that's very on brand. That's just, I was kind of like looking at it like, that doesn't read right, that doesn't sound right. And then, obviously it got said, the episode title got said in the episode. Which I
I had to look it up, and it's actually on Wikipedia.
Of course it is, yeah.
Astrogatation, whatever you just said.
Yeah.
Interestingly, if you search it spelling by spelling on Google, it tells you spelt it wrong and the R shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And it's the R that's throwing off my pronunciation. So there we go. Also, it is also known as astronavigation and the science of navigating spacecraft through real space and hyperspace.
Mate, I'm with you. Thank you, Wikipedia, the source of all
so you
Star
were
Wars
right.
knowledge.
In fairness, you were right. Astronavigation, slam it together, make a word. You were on the bot.
It makes a change. Of being right twice in one lifetime now, it's frightening. So,
slow down.
yeah. Woo, I've peaked. So this episode again, I enjoyed it. So episodes 1 and 2 kind of did the typical setting the scene. Here are the people, and here's the adventure, and then it ends. Which we were all like, "What the hell?" Episode 2 is like 30 seconds long.
Yes.
But then we get an episode 3. More of a bit better, lengthwise, not much, but a bit better.
It reckons 37 minutes, but it definitely doesn't include what happened last week and the credits and everything else. So I'm reckoning about half hour.
Yeah, I think you're right. But it was enjoyable. Like that half hour went pretty quick. Like that sort of blinked and went, and and it sort of the adventure has begun, if you like. What I find interesting at the start of this episode, I'd love to get your take on it, is we discussed a little bit after episode 1 and 2 about the whole At-Attan. Something's weird. Something's off. Like, it looks like suburbia, but then there's these droids, which feels a bit like people are living, like what's going on there? We had questions. And right away at the start of this episode, we see the parents of the children have all gathered together, obviously freaking out. Their kids have gone off in some spacecraft. But their reliance on the droids comes across to me straight away. Like, oh, don't worry. The safety droids are going to sort this out. And one of them even's like, yeah, when I was young, I used to run off. The safety droids would find me, bring me home. And I was like, there is a serious kind of strange disconnect here in my mind, which is like, they're the droids, you're the people, and yet you appear to be just solely reliant on the droids telling you what's going on. Like a droid rocks up and is like, hey everyone, just had a chat with the magistrate and we don't know where they are. It's like they've gone. They skipped through the barrier. Interesting thing that got said and repeated was, you must not, it is forbidden to communicate outside of the barrier. It's forbidden to go beyond the barrier. So what's your take, mate?
Waving very quickly.
Yeah, what's your take on all of that?
Yeah, I'm the same as you. This kind of thing with everything Star Warsy that we have seen up until this point.
Yeah,
droids are the helpers.
Yeah.
That's all they are. Like you go down the Mandalorian, who hates droids.
Yeah, I'm with him.
You've got Luke, who owned the two droids that were helpers. Anakin, who created one of the droids. You know, we see them throughout all the different shows and TV shows and the movies, and they're always these kind of helpers. Or you go back to the episode 1, it's the droid army and stuff, you know, and
yeah, except for Chopper, who
the
was
people in charge. And in this, it seems like it's kind of like, yeah, let the droids do their thing. They've got this, and I'm like, this is weird. This isn't what we know.
Yeah, no, it is kind of strange. I mean, it's I can't work out in my mind if the droids are in control or if it's an over-reliance, like a kind of this society. Because as the episode goes on, you kind of learn more about this planet. At-Attan was one of the jewels of the old Republic, and every other one of these planets of importance has been destroyed and lost, and this one was assumed the same. However, it's obviously not. It's been hidden by whatever this barrier is.
And it's who hid it. Like, when did they hide it? Yeah. Who do they hide it from?
Yeah. And of course, we also learn in this episode just how, you know, because that line at the beginning is what was the line? Forbidden to communicate outside of the barrier. So the kids don't know about the war. They've got no idea about the Empire even. They still think of the Republic. And it was a little point I picked up and I wrote it down. And then later on in the episode, it kind of confirmed it. Is when those parents were talking, they says, has anyone contacted the Republic for help? And I don't know why it stuck out to me, because terminology-wise, you wouldn't necessarily say New Republic. But given every other TV show we've seen, after the fall of the Empire, people's vernacular was the New Republic. If you think about it for a minute, like Ahsoka, Mando, all of those shows, they've all been referred to as the New Republic. And yet right at the beginning of this show, she says, has anyone reached out to the Republic for help? And I don't know why that kind of piqued my interest. But then later on, of course, you learn that those kids have got no idea about the Empire. So they probably don't even know about the Clone Wars.
No, like she said, like, what other planets have you learnt about? And she's like, well, we know these two. And it's just the look on his face, like, did you just, like, miss the entire...
Yeah, so it says Coruscant and Alderaan, yeah. And it's like, yeah, we study Alderaan. It's like, what's Alderaan? Ain't there no more. Yeah, it's just an asteroid field now, kid.
Yeah, you guys are going to be in for a weird surprise.
Yeah, so that was strange. But this is what we were talking about last week, about the show's just kind of like fun, kids, but then there's this real sort of storyline to it which has really got me. I'm like, what the hell is going on with this planet? Who is in charge there? Who has hidden it away? Why is it being hidden away? And what do the people on the planet know? Like, what is the great work? That's referred to a load of times. Like, yeah,
that keeps being mentioned, like, thinking of the great work. Maybe this is the great work, or maybe that's what it meant by the great work. And we're like watching it going, what is it? Yeah. What is the great work?
And they're all like, they're all basically like a whole planet of accountants, which is like, analysts. Oh, when I grow up, I want to be a senior analyst, and it's strange. Like, what is going on there? And
my mum's an analyst, and my dad's an analyst, and well, my mum's an accountant.
Yeah,
and I think Wim makes a comment, doesn't he? It's all money.
Everything's around the money. So
money. Yeah.
You wonder about these kind of crown jewel planets of the Old Republic, and I'm just sort of thinking to myself, what if the Old Republic had one planet that was basically like the currency center? The currency was manufactured there. It was like the currency trading center. Think of like the planet Earth for a minute, and think of countries on our planet as, planets in the Star Wars universe, if you like. Sort of trying to make a bit of a comparison. You have certain countries and certain places, like Hong Kong, for example, stock exchange. Hong Kong is a massive trading hub for the whole world. It links China to Europe and the US, etc., all via like Hong Kong markets.
Yep.
Imagine if this was like kind of like this place for the Old Republic with currency, etc. And this is why it's become almost like a kind of a legend, a pirate legend of like, oh, that's the place. that's where the gold is, people. That's where the money is.
Get there, literally grows on trees.
Yeah, it's like literally that is where the money is. So it's got to be to do with that, because they've really focused on those Old Republic credits he has. And like, a funny scene in this episode, I'm sure you noticed it. Neil's still my favourite character, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Did you notice the minute where they're looking at, the kids are talking, and he's got the money on the table, and then the pirate comes back in, one of many names, which we'll come on to in a minute, and he turns his bowl over and hide them, and Neil sat next to him, turns his bowl over as well. He's hiding nothing, Neil. You're just turning your bowl over. What are you doing?
I love it. Yeah. He is just brilliant.
Yeah, I love Neil. So let's talk a little bit about pirates then, because I feel like with my accent, I really should be talking about this more. Last week, I noticed this, and I think you noticed it as well, but I forgot to mention it on the show, so I'm going to mention it now. SM33. If you write it down, it basically looks like SME. SM33 SME. So that's Pirate SME. Then you have Jude Law's character is basically, he says his name is Jod, okay?
Yeah.
However, at the prison, they call him Captain Silver. Well, Long John Silver, very famous pirate. And then Crimson Jack is what the character Kim calls him later on. Crimson Jack from Star Wars novels was a space pirate. So again, we are leaning heavily. I get the impression that Jod, every planet we land on, people are going to know him by a different name, and I feel like every single one of them is going to have some sort of pirate link. Like, he's going to arrive on one planet and, like, attach a beard and, like, what are you doing? Oh, on this one I'm called Blackbeard. Do you know what I mean?
They know me as Davy on this one.
Yeah, one Davy, yeah. This one, Captain Jack Sparrow. What? Nothing, I didn't say that. Yeah, different franchise.
Yeah, what's wrong one?
Yeah, but it's still owned by Disney. They can probably get away with it.
I say same umbrella. Yeah, they just call me Jack on this one.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
And then he starts to walk a bit like he's, on the high seas. So, start of the episode, he's leaning into I'm a Jedi, but for me, whereas I had a question mark last week, him leaning into it so hard so early, I was like, he's not a Jedi. He's never been a Jedi.
No.
What's your thoughts on that?
So I've got a little bit of a thing here against Wim on this one.
Oh, okay.
So Wim has been studying these books, and he's like, he knows everything about Jedi, and he's like obsessed with the Jedi.
Yeah.
And he's been reading these books and everything else.
Yeah.
Then surely he knows that not all Force users are Jedi.
But it depends how much information he has, because we know he's got this little pad with these stories on it, but to me, it feels like those stories are very young kid kind of adventure stories, not really a detailed history of the Jedi.
No, I get that, but if there are stories of Jedis, would there not be stories of the bad guys, so like the Sith?
Not that we've seen.
We see one of the images we see on his screen is two people in a lightsaber battle.
Yeah.
So I'm surely he must know that if there is the light side, there is a dark side. I'm like, he's very quick to be like, Jedi, good guy. Whereas maybe it's just me. I'd be like, he used the Force. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, I mean,
what side of the Force are you on?
I mean, there's different ways of looking at it. I think the era, see, it's difficult because the era we know this is set in, the galaxy would know of the Sith without a shadow of a doubt. In the era it appears that they think the galaxy is in because they are so sheltered, these stories that he's reading are like eons ago because the Sith have been extinct for 1,000 years. So in his mind, if he sees someone use the Force, it's got to be a Jedi because there's no one else around that uses the Force.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's very possible. That was like my only thing. Like when he instantly went to Jedi, good guy, trust him. But I don't know. I say it might just be my brain that was I'd be questioning. I would be questioning: is he the master or is he the apprentice?
Well, I think that's because you have a better knowledge of the galaxy than he's. I think it's actually another example of them being disconnected.
Sheltered. Yeah.
Well, just how disconnected they are. Like, forbidden communications outside of the barrier. If they have no idea about the Empire, no idea about the war, possibly no idea about the Clone Wars even. So if that's the case and they're still thinking, oh, it's the old Republic as it was, then yeah, any Force user,
they don't literally think the Sith have been extinct for thousands of years. Yeah,
any Force user is a Jedi. Now, what I find kind of funny about that is later on in the episode when he kind of like goes, I never actually said I was a Jedi, did I? You said that, and I just kind of like didn't correct you. I like that kind of that is funny, but that's very pirate, very kind of like, ooh, I'm just going to take advantage of that situation. Yeah, I'm one of them. Whatever you said, I am that. Definitely that. No problem. And then later on when you're confronted, it's like, yeah, but I didn't lie, did I? I didn't actually say I was one of them. So that was stupid, but kind of made me laugh. Once he steered into it so heavy early on, I did kind of have my doubts. The one thing I would say, which is kind of amusing, is he uses the Force again to create a distraction. And when he does it, and he's kind of asked by one of the kids, he just says, oh, practice.
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested on this, where they go with it, because I sort of theorized last week that you could have had, at the time of, the Jedi Purge, in the wild, if you like, loads of Padawans that suddenly were like told to run. No one knows who you are, vanish, just go. I'm going to go and fight, or I'm going to try and do this. But you've only been training for a few weeks, just get out of here, sort of thing.
You're not really on the books yet. No one knows who you are. Run. Yeah,
and it's kind of I know people have this real kind of like, oh, Order 66 was supposed to have exterminated all the Jedi, and then every new show it's like, oh yeah, and Dave survived. Oh, and Jill, lovely to see Jill. That doesn't bother me because, like I said, out of 1,000 Jedi, if 10 survive, it's like that's still a pretty awful ratio. So, but anyway, like I said, I'm going to be interested where they go with that, because I do think just exploring the fact that some people are Force sensitive and perhaps were never trained, but have managed themselves to kind of train themselves to do little cheap tricks like that. It is kind of mentioned in the episode by one of the kids, is like he could be doing loads of things, tractor beam. He could be using magnets.
String. I love
the string.
Reeling off this list of things of how he could make things move without touching them.
I saw someone do a tweet which was funny. He said, when she said magnets and string, a lot of people are going to be thinking magnets going back to the Obi-Wan series and obviously the fake Jedi.
Bloke, yeah.
But he said what's interesting is when they were first doing stuff using the Force in the films, they used string and magnets. So that was actually a little like fun little thing. Like if it was close, they basically made sure it was metal and used it like to fire across like a magnet, like it was being pulled, or you put your hand out. And then with the vast majority of stuff, though, was quite literally string. Like
that's amazing.
Yeah, like wire basically, but yeah, string. So that was kind of funny. I like
a little nice nod. Yeah,
it was just like, oh, he could be doing this. Like, well, that's literally what the Force was in 1979. So,
yeah.
What did you? So they do escape from the prison, and I keep talking about this being kind of fun and stuff. I thought the escape, and them getting to the ship and then making him go back for the droid with this kind of look, and the way they kind of did it as well, like, oh, I thought you were a Jedi, and Jedis don't leave people behind. It's like, one, it's a droid, and two, that's not a Jedi thing, but fine, I'll get the droid. It's like basically being guilted into doing it.
They probably got him on that. I just thought it was good fun. And then I really enjoyed when he goes back into, he finds SM-33, hereby known as Smee.
Yeah.
And he's going through different droids. It's like the old droidica.
Yeah.
I'm like, did we win?
Yeah. Just like,
was amazing.
Yeah, the battle droid. Did we win? No, mate, you did not. Sorry, buddy.
The only thing that could have made it better is if he had signed on and gone, Roger, Roger.
Yeah, I was expecting Roger, Roger, but him saying, did we win, was funnier. That was good.
So much better.
But yeah, are you SM-33? Who's asking? Excellent. Turns him off again. I was like, yep, great.
I half expected him to recognise John.
I wondered that. Yeah, I wondered.
I did wonder he's going to turn him on and he's going to go, you. Yeah. Whoop, no, turn him off.
Yeah,
okay.
Switch him off. No, I couldn't find your droid. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I did wonder about that, but no. So clearly that ship's been there a long time, and obviously a crew, someone else, or it's intriguing. There's got to be some history to the ship.
He looks like he recognises the ship. Like when it turns around the corner, they kind of see that's the ship, and he goes, "Oh." I couldn't. One.
Yeah,
I was half expecting him to go, that was my first ever ship.
Yeah, I kind of couldn't make my mind up because I clocked that as well. And I couldn't make my mind up if he was kind of like, oh my God, that's such and such. Like, that's the great ship known as this. Or if it was just, what a piece of junk, which I was kind of expecting to be a line because it does look like a tip. Like it's literally dust cloud around it from dirt. So I did wonder if he was going to say something like that, like, what a piece of junk, a bit of a throwback. But no, he was just like, that's it. And so I wasn't sure. There's also a moment where he sees like one of the pirates has been stabbed up against the wall and he pulls the knife out to keep it. Did you, I mean, this is such a niche thing, but when he pulled the knife out, you had a little ghostly thing of him doing it like from a pirate ship. Did you hear that?
No.
Okay, anyone who's into stuff like this, go back and listen. When he pulls the knife out, you hear like a ghostly ooh, like that, literally as the body drops to the floor. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty fun. I sort of clocked it back. Like, did I hear that? Yes, I did. Okay, right. Okay, it's not a demon in my room with me. Brilliant. Okay, it's on the TV. On the TV. Oh, good. So I like stuff like that. The SM-33 is kind of like looking at him a bit squiff. I did enjoy Smee, as we're going to call him, basically like, listen up, I'm going to say this once, and then basically doesn't say anything, and then says, I. Like,
I love that. He disappears and he comes back round. Brilliant.
It's like, arr. Yeah, so...
I'm only going to say this once. They're from somewhere.
Yeah, they're from somewhere. Yeah, it's just like, oh man.
It cracked me up. He's a good character. I enjoy that character.
Yeah, I am too. You always need a good droid. If you want a good Star Wars show, you got to have a good droid. And yeah, SM-33 joins the ranks of a good droid. Oh yeah. He has this kind of, I'm going to say it, Captain Jack-esque way of escaping, where he kind of just bluffs it and it all goes right for him. Does that make sense? It's
then he just, we're attached by the fuel line. Wait a minute, I've got an idea.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's a bloody strong fuel line. It's just like, oh, God, that fuel line's really strong. What am I going to do now? And he just basically flies around, creates havoc, then jumps to hyperspace with it still attached, and just crashes the place, like, demolishes countless ships.
Oh man, the fuel line just hits into everything, destroying the port.
It honestly felt like that moment where I was half expecting the guy to walk up to like the captain there and go, "That's the greatest pirate I've ever seen." Do you know what I mean?
Really, this is the day you almost caught.
Yeah, you almost caught Captain Silver. He just really, really felt like that. He does blast off. He's got the kids and he says to them, right, we're going to go to someone I know called Kim. Kim's going to help us. Kim's great with star maps and everything. You can tell him where you live and then we'll take you home. Kids are a bit suspicious. An observation I made during this, and again, I'd love your take on it. He doesn't know how to act around kids. Like,
I'm not even a little bit.
No. And it's actually kind of funny that he's kind of telling them to do stuff like, you do this, and they're looking at him like, I'm 10. It's like, what do you want?
It was when they're escaping and he pulls down the gunship bits of the spaceship.
Yeah, and
then chucks him in the seat and just puts him straight back up. Doesn't really tell him how to do anything. Just in and up they go.
It's like, shoot back. It's like, what? You want me to do? I'm going to be a gunner now? I mean, Wim's well into that, which is way bad. You don't want to give that kid a blaster. That's just asking for trouble. I did like the bit with Neil looking at the blaster, like literally looking down the gun hole, like, oh, what's this? Like, no, Neil. No. No. Someone take that off of him. They do sort of, like I said, the other example of that is with the food. Well, the kids are starving, like their stomachs are rumbling. He literally just makes himself food and eating it in front of them, and they're like looking at him as the adult, and he's like, "There's loads left in the pot. What the hell do you want me to do?
Go get it then." Yeah.
It's like, help yourselves. But yeah, so they go to Kim. He
explains how she's brilliant. She's a great old friend. She will stab you in the back.
Yeah. And they're like,
wonderful.
She'll stab us in the back. He's like, no, like metaphor, like betray. Oh, you'll work it out when you're older. Come on. Someone else pointed this out, and I got to be honest with you, wasn't a connection I made. But now I look at it, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, I kind of get it. So there's a lot of kind of nods in this to E.T., Amblin Entertainment. A little bit of kind of homage, a little bit of kind of love for that. Okay. And there's a moment where they're walking along this moon to get to Kim's sort of base, and the planet that the moon is orbiting is sort of looks like the moon, if you know what I mean, like the whole thing.
I just thought it was a giant moon.
And they are walking, and they're silhouettes, so it looks like the famous, E.T. shot of them going across the moon as they're walking.
Nice.
So some producer said, like, yeah, that's what we were going for. It was just like a little nod. It's not something I picked up on, but once it was pointed out to me, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, I thought the visuals were great. I didn't connect the two dots.
No,
but now you've said it, I'm like, duh, yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. They meet Kim, and Kim is, for want of a better word, Kim's an owl.
That's fairly accurate.
I'd say that I think from everything I've seen, and someone may jump in and tell me, no, I'm wrong, but I think that's a brand new species. I've never seen a Star Wars talking owl before. This is new to me across all the books.
I'm a living owl. Yeah.
She's great, like straight away. When he arrives, we hear her put a call in to like the local police, if you like, which we know are the X-Wings and the New Republic, to say, oh, Crimson Jack's here. Keep him talking, keep him there. So she welcomes him. What is kind of funny to me is obviously she fully planned to be like, throw him under the bus. But because what he and the kids are talking about is so intriguing, you can tell she's almost like gets completely caught up in it and almost forgets, like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be keeping him here. And then she's like, oh, this will be done in a minute. It could take me a while. Need to, cross-reference a few things.
And he instantly is like, if I didn't know you better, I would say...
Yeah, I'm fairly confident you're shafting me right now, Kim. Yeah. I liked her reaction to the At-Attan thing as well, because so far we've had a kind of, don't talk rubbish, where are you really from? We've had a kind of... that's made up, what you want about, and she's just like, oh, really? Because I believe in that, and I believe it's real, and then actually goes into a little bit of history, which gives us our first bit of insight. One of the crown jewels of the old Republic, starts talking about, talking about, Lost, but I've always thought it was real, but everyone told me I was mad, How, from your point of view, if you can try and put yourself in this for a moment, what is going through the mind of those kids when all the people they're bumping into in the galaxy, they're out in this big bad galaxy, are all just like, yeah, where you come from doesn't exist. It's not on any maps.
That's got to be as confusing and disconcerting as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we want to get home. Yeah, that's great. Where do you live? Oh, we live in At-Attan. No. Where do you really live?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't exist. No, it does. Honest, I was just there.
Well, the thing is that I was trying to sort of put it in my mind of like, again, like trying to equate it to the world, and it's almost like like you find a kid lost, and you're like, oh my god, are you lost? Yeah, I can't get home. Okay, where do you live? Narnia. Okay, kid, where do you really live? Do you know what I mean? It's
I come from Atlantis.
Yeah,
no, really.
Yeah,
no,
come
on.
Yeah, it is the equivalent of them literally, like, of us in the real world having someone say that to us. Like, yeah, I'm from Atlantis. And you're like, okay, listen, idiot. Where are you really from? Is that the name of your house? Did Daddy call it Atlantis? Is he Greek? Yeah. So, yeah, it's a bit kind of... It must be a real messing with their heads kind of situation. And you start to see them a little bit in this episode start to ask questions like, what is the great work? You know, why is everything hidden from us? You know, what is actually going on? And all of them are now a bit like, this is weird. Like, we kind of just assumed everyone would know and to us, you know, it's like a boring ass place, nothing exciting, no treasure. What is it that's so appealing to everybody? Kim does break down, she thinks, the coordinates. Obviously he works it out, blasts them, takes the coordinates, blasts the computer so no one else can get them. Kim kind of confides in one of the kids, like, don't trust him, like, do not trust him, get away from him.
Yes.
And so we have
find out the truth. Yeah.
So we have this kind of fun confrontation where obviously he does admit, look, I'm not a Jedi, I never said I was, but it's kind of like he's revealing a little truth to get what he wants. But I think what Kim was getting at is, like, he wants to get to your planet for a reason. They ain't just getting you home. And he's kind of like, look, I'll get you home. I'll maybe get a little reward. And it's like, will you? Like, is that what you're after? Like, the parents giving you, like, a few credits? Or are you more interested in the location of this planet to know where it is?
No, you know.
Yeah, to go away and come back with a stuffing great big pirate armada. It's interesting because the motivations of this character, etc., are completely alien to us. We would like to think, you know, that this is a kind of bit of a rogue, Han Solo-esque character, that, you know, lovable rogue. He could be pure evil. You know.
Well, yeah. The final episode, he blows up their hometown, like their home planet, and takes all the credits. And you're like, hold on.
Final episode, he executes Neil.
Neil's on board with him. It's fine.
Do you think Neil's like his apprentice? Neil actually executes someone. Neil kills Wim, shoots him right in front of him to join the crew. Neil becomes Pirate Neil.
To the lady that emailed you, listening to this with her 2 children, he's joking. Neil's a good guy. It's okay. He's a cute elephant.
He's a masochist. Look at his eyes, psycho. That trunk, devilish. But yeah, they blast off, and then of course we get a bit of kind of Star Wars nostalgia, a bit of kind of Star Wars happiness with 2 X-Wings showing up.
You messaged me, how am I doing? I was like, I'm happy. There's X-Wing.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, it's great. It's fun. This is Star Wars. This is where I'm at. I'm good. The X-Wings, like we've seen across the Mandalorian and everything like that, are kind of policing now. The New Republic, they're kind of like out there trying to enforce good, basically. And he is obviously a wanted pirate, so they're trying to stop him, trying to bring him in. They see that he's got children on board, so they're obviously being cautious not to blow the ship up, which I liked. I liked that they added that in, because otherwise you're kind of looking at it going, Jesus, is every X-Wing pilot the most inept pilot in the galaxy? Can't anyone hit anything but Luke in this ship? What the hell?
Which is a fair point.
Yeah, but at least they kind of addressed it. Like, well, obviously we didn't want to toast the guy because there's 4 kids on board. It's like, good, brilliant, you're good guys, thank you, that's what I wanted to hear. that's good. I'm happy with that.
You're not completely useless, you're just being good guys, okay? I can let you off. That's fine.
I did like the way he escaped. I did like the kind of skirting across the surface, blasting up all the dust whilst she got the coordinates for the nav to go to hyperspace, and then as soon as she said it was ready, blasting off so they couldn't see, and then gone. I thought that was very cool.
It did seem, again, very pirate-like, very underhand tactics. Let's blind them in a storm of dust off the planet and then disappear.
And anyone who's seen the Solo, the sort of origin story for Han Solo, the movie, does a very similar thing in that. Han Solo does. So again, it kind of steers into this. I want the guy to be this lovable rogue. I don't know if he is, and that's kind of fun. That's kind of interesting at this point. Depending on what their plan is for this series, like the idea is with this show, from what's been said, is they'd like it to run. They would like this show to become, like, to get renewed, to carry on. So
nice.
If that is the case, like, it's not just a case of we've done an 8-episode story and that's it. Doesn't matter what everyone thinks. This is what we've done. Then you'd imagine he needs to be a lovable rogue, don't you? Because otherwise, I don't think the show is strong. I don't think the 4 kids would be strong enough to carry the show.
I think you're right. I think they need a character, or they need an actor like the standard of Jude Law to be able to kind of hold it together,
to
almost.
Anchor the show.
The kids by themselves, like that first episode, and most of the second episode, to be fair, where it was just kind of the kids and stuff. Yeah, it was good fun, but this episode kind of built a lot more into it.
Yeah. This episode,
if you want to make 2 or 3 series, you are going to need some strong character leads.
I also find, and this may sound like I'm being a little bit critical, so I'm going to give a little background to this. My daughter's a child actor. I've said this on the show before, so as anyone new listening, that's for you. And one of the things that it was said to me by a producer a long time ago is, when you have kids acting with kids, they act to that level of each other. When you have young actors working with adults, suddenly they raise their game. And it's when you see that, you know that someone's talented and someone's able to do it. And what was interesting to me in this show is when it was kids acting with kids, you could easily be a bit like, oh, this is so naff. Like it was fun, there was no doubt about it, but it was easily like, that kid's annoying. Scenes, I know exactly what you mean, like
Wim falling over and trying to run up a hill that looked like a gladiator going up the final task.
Yeah, there's just little things that can be a bit annoying, like little conversational stuff that's a bit, oh, that was naff, that was cheesy. But in this episode, when the interaction is largely based around kind of adult characters, and also SM33 and Kim, so they are acting to kind of blue screen people, filling in for those roles, but that's adults. And I think you can see the level raised. I think you can see the kids, their interactions and their dialogue is dialed up. And I think that's just something, and now I've said that, anytime look at that across things you see, and I think you'll notice the same. It's like if you watch kids' TV shows, like here in the UK, like CBeebies and stuff like that, and it's kids acting with kids, a lot of the time, like I used to sit through them with my daughter watching them, and I it's awful. Like the level of acting is terrible. And then all of a sudden you'd see like one of these kids from one of these shows has been cast in this movie, and you're like, how is that kid who I've just watched basically be awful in this show for ages suddenly cast? And then you see them and you're like, wow, like so different, so like transformational, and it's mad, but it is that. And I think producers, casting people, they can spot it, they can recognize it, who's got that ability to act up as well as kind of. But when you're young, I think it's kind of very easy to be, oh, that's how you're acting, cool, that's how I'll act. It's almost like you don't want to break out from the crowd, but then when there's an adult there like laying in like Jude Law level performance, I think all of the kids in this episode elevated. Like you could really see, like I can't think of the character's name, the girl with the visor.
KB.
She was great in this episode. Like she had a good few bits of dialogue, good few scenes where she really conveyed I don't trust you. Like everyone else is kind of along for the ride. I am 100% just eyes on you. And he almost respects her for it, I think. It's kind of like, all right, fair enough. little git. I see I'm not going to be able to, whim, just like happy to be there. Like, all I got to do is say to that kid, "Do you want to fire the gun?" And he's on my side. It's fine.
I know where there's a lightsaber. Yep, anything you want.
Anything you want. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on the episode. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed. I loved the ending as well. It felt very 80s like 80s TV show, kind of like, do you know where they're going? If I told you, you wouldn't believe me.
Then kind of turns around, doesn't look at the camera, but looks at the camera into space. You wouldn't believe.
Just such a great line to end the episode. It was really good, and I think I realised I was doing while I was watching. I was kind of smiling. I was just really enjoying it, and it finished, and I was like, oh, that was good. That was fun. That was nice, and. It isn't something you got to be really cerebral about. You don't have to really massively think about every scene, like, oh, he said this, but was looking over there and then holding this, and oh, this character I know from the Star Wars Legend. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, the Acolyte at times. I felt like, okay, I need to just do a quick 2-hour seminar on ancient High Republic lore, and I'll be right with you.
There's a lot of so obviously those of us who know the podcast hopefully know us well enough to know we do a lot of shows on lots of different genres, lots of different universes and everything else. And a lot of the stuff we watch, you're right, you kind of like, you have to make sure you're keeping up with it. And there's lots of little bits put into the storyline or bits in the background that we have to kind of pick up on and stuff. So the fact that this is just in the evening, put the TV on and watch half an hour's worth of fun.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice.
I'm like, oh, I'm loving this.
It's giving my brain a break. Yeah, but in a lovely way. Like, I can't compliment it enough for that. And I've looked across. Of course, there's negativity out there. It's Star Wars. It wouldn't be Star Wars content with Star Wars fans not hating it. That's just the only fan base in the world who hate what they love is Star Wars. But I overall, I think what I'm seeing is mostly positive, similar to us of just, this is great fun. Please feed me more fun. Which absolutely loving it. Anything else I've missed or anything you wanted to discuss before we wrap?
Just quickly, I was still on the Star Wars like fandom website thing, and you mentioned about Kim, if you'd seen her before or not.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll quickly search her whilst we're talking.
Thank you.
Her species literally is just alien.
Okay.
Owl-like alien.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess, no, we haven't seen one before ever. Oh, okay. And this is the first time because there is no other reference other than she is a female owl-like alien.
Owl-like alien. No one knows what that is,
No one knows what that is, so that is just... So I'm going to guess that, we've not seen one of these before, but I like the character. I thought she was quite cool.
Everyone, if you have any reference, get in touch. You can contact us, Sam at stuffandthangspodcast.com. You can get in contact via all the socials. We have left Twitter now, mostly because the guy who runs it's a person whose name rhymes with something I can't say because kids are listening. And we are on Blue Sky. You can find us on Blue Sky at Podcast of Thangs. And we are also across all the others, the metaverse and everything else. You can also join us on Discord. The link to that will be in the podcast description. Okay, we will be back next week to discuss the next episode. Also next week, for everyone looking forward to it, is the Christmas special of our podcast. I can't remember what day we're recording it, but the show will be out either probably the 23rd. So that'll be the following week actually, but it'd be the 23rd of December, available across all the platforms. Every year we have certain traditions, one of which is the feedback tradition, which is horrific. And this year I can't make my mind up if people have deliberately tried to get on the show with some of this or if people just really don't like me.
There's always good fun, the feedback section. I find myself laughing a lot at what people say about me.
Well, this year
I cry later.
I cry listening to Coldplay with a bottle of whiskey in my hand. Yeah, but it's interesting. So that is our show. We'll be back next week. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to stay well. If I don't speak to you before, enjoy your Christmases. But yeah, we are out.
And may the force be with you.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.